Welcome back to the Built Different podcast with Tucker Speed. This week we are joined by Levi Welch. He's a Salt Lake local, moto vlogger, photography, videography dude. Does a lot of cool stuff on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just doing some really cool stuff in the motorcycle community. We talked about that. We talked about how he got into Harleys, his motocross background. We talked about family and kids, a little bit of everything. So he's a really great dude. I had a great conversation with him. I hope you guys enjoy it. But first, remember, this podcast is brought to you by tuckerspeed.com. We are your one-stop shop for all performance-related parts for your Harley-Davidson. Just hit the website for all your performance needs. And please, before we jump into the episode, if you haven't already, go out, give us a 5-star review, and subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. It really just helps us keep this thing rolling. Enjoy the episode.
Making power by day, making friends at night. Built different, Tucker Speed. Hell yeah, brother.
Kick somebody's ass like him?
I mean, not that I'm going to tell on a podcast, but yeah.
All right, let's get going.
Cool.
All right, I am joined by Levi Welch, like a local moto vlogger.
Enthusiast.
Enthusiast?
Yeah.
Just a guy on a motorcycle having a good time.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, thanks for jumping on here tonight. I know it was like last minute to
thanks
roll
for
up
having
here,
me.
but yeah, it's cool.
Stoked to be here.
I kind of want to just jump in, like, first off, like, you know, how you got into kind of the performance Harley world. You know, how you got to, like, owning a really nice road glide with some really nice stuff on it. Like, what led you to get to that point?
Yeah. So I guess I've been on motorcycles my whole life, like grew up riding dirt bikes, racing desert, stuff like that. And that just kind of translated as you get older. You just kind of like get into motorcycles on the street, and had buddies that we all like had just like the chopper bobber kind of scene. We were on like Sportsters. I was on like a hardtail CB 750 and like would ride that thing to Vegas and back and just have all the back problems and stuff. And had my first kid, and I got rid of that just so I could kind of do the dad thing and
Be the family guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just try to make that situation work. And went a few
How
years.
long ago was that?
10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, 10, 11 years ago. So, and then had a big gap without a bike, and then just still had like buddies that still rode and still had bikes. And Jason got a bike, which I think you guys are pretty familiar with his bike. And so my homie Jason Johnson, and he got a bike, and we lived super close. I went and checked his bike out, and I texted my wife. I'm like, all right, I'm getting another bike. And she's like, cool. So I picked up a Dyna 3 years ago and just loved it and rode it and kind of built that up. And then the more I just kind of started doing like longer trips and, you know, like going to like rallies and stuff, kind of decided that I kind of like more of like the touring style. And my wife liked the touring bikes more just because she was a lot more comfortable.
It's way more comfortable for the passenger.
She was a bit miserable on the Dyna. So
What year was the Dyna?
it was a 2010 Street Bob.
Okay.
So yeah.
At least a little bit newer, but
Yeah. So and
I mean, like Jason's is nice, but it's, you know, it's a 99, and I mean, it's great for what he does.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, just ripping on it, stunting a little bit, but
Yeah. Yeah. And I kept trying to like find that happy middle ground. Like I want to stunt and I want to do wheelies and burnouts, but I want to like, you know, like go on these long rides. And it's like, they just don't really like,
it's hard to do both.
It can work out, but it's hard to like, you know, I'm going to go thrash on my bike one day and then like, but my bike's got to be ready to go on the weekend for, you know, this long ride. And I'm like worried about, you know, like blowing it up because I was just, you know, rallying on it. So yeah, I just decided that I'd go the road glide way and picked up a just a used 2017 road glide special and just took all the money that I got from selling the Dyna and just kind of dumped that into the road glide. And then I guess a lot of the cool parts on there is just kind of like I had to fix things, like my transmission went out, and so it's just kind of like my option was fix it or put in a grudge box. So I put in the grudge box and just kind of like slowly building it up. And I think the hard part is like having the patience to like build a bike, because sometimes you just want to like go
Just do it all at once. Yeah.
But I got kids and a wife, and you know, trying to
A
build
mortgage
a
and
family
all the fun stuff.
So yeah, a couple cars to pay. So yeah, so
Well, I think the cool thing is that what you've been able to do, like with the transmission, even like, you know, rather than dropping it off at like the, you know, here or the local dealership, like you've like taken the time and researched it and done it yourself, and then like created a little bit of content through it as well.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, everything I've done to my bike, I've done myself. Like, local dude here, Johnny, he helped me throw on my cam, and then like Curtis Reed helped me on a couple things as far as like, you know, extra hand to put on the bars and, you know, stuff like that. So big shout out to them for helping me out. But yeah, for the most part, I mean, kind of done it all myself. It's cool to just kind of like learn that stuff, you know, like I said, like I grew up on dirt bikes. So like, I know how to work on those.
Yeah.
It's more of just like, I don't know if it's an intimidation thing, like going from like dirt bikes to Harleys and like trying to like learn how to work on Harleys. But
It's funny how, like, because I hear this like all the time, like, oh, I've grown up working on my dirt bikes or my ATVs, but I'm just nervous to work on my Harley, like for whatever reason. Like it just is so intimidating to guys that are even somewhat mechanically inclined.
Yeah.
But once you do it, it's like, man, it's not that bad. But it's just that first.
Yeah, for sure.
First
like,
time.
When
like,
I did my transmission, it was a little overwhelming, and I was just like, man, like, is this going to work out? I'm going to blow this thing up. Am I making it worse? But then it's like, when it's all done, I'm like, that was actually pretty straightforward and easy. Like that wasn't nothing crazy.
It's not like rocket science or nothing.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. And so it's cool to see guys. I mean, like I said, I hear it all the time, you know, dudes wanting to do that. We sell a lot of parts to dudes that are working on their bikes in their garages.
Yeah. And then sometimes that's half the fun. You know what I mean? Like building your bike, working on your bike, tinkering on it. Like that's half the fun of owning a bike. Like
I agree.
You know, like definitely like look forward to like the long trips and, you know, riding with the buddies and, you know, going and grabbing a bite to eat and stuff like that. That's all fun too. But just like having your bike and like your garage and just kind of your space to like work on your stuff is half the fun. So
it's kind of like almost like a Zen thing for a lot of guys. Like it's just like a way to kind of detach from your day job and you know, being a husband and a dad. Like you just get to just play with the bike and work on it. And I think it's like, I always think it's like all the kids that grew up like playing like with Legos and building blocks and all the different stuff. Like now we're grown up and like that's still the stuff we enjoy doing, you know? So it's cool. I mean, it's hard for me to like, I don't get that opportunity anymore.
Right.
I don't get to go home and work on my bike in
Yeah.
the garage anymore. You know what I mean? Like that's the last thing I want to do when I go home.
Yeah. I bet though it's good for you for business, people working on their own bikes, because you probably get a lot of, hey, I did this and now I need you to fix it.
I do get some of that. Yeah, I definitely do get some of that. I mean,
but that ends up being harder than just if it would have been done the right way the first time.
Yeah, and there's like, you know, from the business side of it, there's this like, if a guy comes in and says, hey, I want to buy a transmission, I'm going to try and replace my transmission in my garage.
Yeah.
It's like, do I take 30 minutes and like tell him like, be careful when you do this and make sure you do this right. Like, here's some key points. Like, is that part of my business model?
Yeah.
Or is it like, all right, here's your transmission, sir. Like, good luck. I'll see you in a week when it's blown apart. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, and I feel like you kind of get what you put out there in life. So like to take a few minutes to just give a guy some pointers.
Yeah.
And if he still screws it up and it comes back, it is what it is. But like, I'm not going to intentionally hope that you like blow it up so I get to do it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think that's just like a good mentality to have with everything, right? Like gatekeeping in like any industry is stupid. You know? It's like, why do it? Like, you know, if you can save this dude a hassle by just being like, hey, like when you do this or when you do that, like make sure you check this or whatever it is, you know, like that's going to go a long ways, not just for you, but like for your business too, because then it's like, oh yeah, like I remember Tony told me this, you know, and like he's super knowledgeable. So then they're going to, you know, continue to come back and eventually they'll be a customer, you know, like more so than just buying parts. Like they might have you work on something just because they know you have that knowledge. So
yeah, I definitely just feel like, you know, especially in this industry, like building trust can go like take you so much further. You know what I mean? Like I mean, even if it's just selling more parts to this guy down the road, and he'll never bring his bike in here to have me work on it.
Yeah.
But if he can come to me and buy a part, and then I can also offer a little bit of like advice,
Yeah.
like it goes a long ways.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I think it's also funny, like what you said, like you kind of went this phase of like not having a bike. Like
Yeah.
I honestly went through that same phase.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually was working at the Harley dealership and didn't own a motor. Like I didn't have a motocross bike. I didn't have a Harley.
Yeah.
Because I had young kids.
Yep.
And it's like so common. How old are you?
I'm 33.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're 10 years younger than me, but I went through that same phase.
Yeah. I mean, same thing. Like I didn't touch a motorcycle, a dirt bike, nothing. But I think it's one of those things too. Like, I got back into like riding motorcycles, and like my now wife, that's like kind of how we met. Like, like she rode dirt bikes too.
Oh, really?
And I hadn't even rode for a while, but I was like, hey, like, she's super hot. So I shot my shot, like, like, hey, let's go ride dirt bikes, and it somehow worked. And, now we're married, 8 years later. So
Does she like you still riding?
Yeah.
Does
yeah.
she support it?
Yeah. She likes it. Yeah. She
And rides with you?
Rides with me, loves it. Yeah. She's down. She's just down for the set. She's down to do anything. So
That's cool. I mean, that makes it easy for you, right?
yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, I mean, there was a phase where, I didn't ride or anything, but I think, I don't want to say everybody goes through this phase, but a lot of people go through these phases. But I think it helps you appreciate it more, right? Because like I grew up riding dirt bikes, and like my parents paid for all my bikes and stuff growing up, and and it's like now that I'm an adult and I make adult money and I've got to pay for all these things myself, it makes you appreciate like what my parents did for me, and it also just kind of helps me appreciate like just like all the fun memories and stuff that I've had on motorcycles when I was younger, and just all the stuff that it taught me, like all the times tinkering in the garage with my dad, you know what I mean? Like he taught me so much about like working on motorcycles and maintenance and stuff that just translated to this now, and at the time you don't realize that stuff. But now like reflecting back on it, it's like all my best memories is like with my dad and my mom doing motorcycle stuff.
And it's funny because I mean, I don't know if it's the same for you. I know for me, like sometimes you were like, I don't want to have to do that. Like I'm kind of, you want to go play with your friends or go ride your BMX bike, and you're
absolutely,
like, and Dad's like, no, we gotta clean the bikes.
I don't want to, clean
unpack
bikes
the trailer from this trip.
Yeah,
I don't want to do that.
Change oils and filters and but
you didn't necessarily want to be doing it at the time.
Yeah.
But now looking back, you appreciate those things. That's how it is for me.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, it's cool it's crazy how many people I talk to that's like exactly the way they've grown up.
Yeah.
And now they're riding around on these performance baggers or Softails or whatever. Like that's just kind of the way. It's just crazy how common it is.
Yeah. That's cool.
Rarely is it like, oh no, I never rode anything and I bought my first motorcycle at 30.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty rare.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it makes sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I rode motocross for a long time. I got back into it while I was at the Harley dealership.
Yeah.
And then I got hurt a couple times and I was like, I got to hang up the motocross boots.
And then you started racing.
And then I raced flat track and thinking it was safer.
That worked out well.
Yeah, that didn't work out so good. So I don't know. My dad got us into racing young, and I just caught the racing bug super hard. Like racing's just my thing.
Yeah, I mean, all my brothers are a little bit older than me, so I mean, by the time I was out of the womb, like I was on a bike, and just all we did every weekend.
How old are you when you started riding?
I started riding when I was maybe 6 or 7.
So pretty young.
Pretty young.
I mean, especially now that you think about it, like you have kids at that age.
Yeah.
Like you think about your like 6-year-old, and you're like, there's no way I'd let my kid do the shit I was doing when I was 6.
Yeah, for sure. So, but like, before that, I was always on my dad's bike, ripping around, and we'd go on family rides, and everyone's on their own bikes. And I'm just hanging on my dad's handlebars, and he's ripping wheelies and going on all the same trails as everyone else. And I'm just bobbing my head around, so, and when I was younger, my dad was still racing, and, we kind of, my whole family raced. My sister raced, and she was in in Utah. She was like one of the fastest girls in the state.
It was desert racing or motocross?
Desert racing.
Desert racing. Okay.
My mom raced.
Really?
Like, yeah. So like,
That's kind of rare too.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, and
you always see moto moms out there, you know, like taking care of the kids,
Yeah.
feeding everybody.
yeah,
But
no, my mom was out there
out there
racing.
ripping,
yeah.
huh?
Both my parents still ride dirt bikes to this day.
Really?
Like, yeah. My mom, and they're 64, 65.
hell yes.
And still out there
going?
riding. And my dad's still got some decent speed. And, you know, my mom, she just kind of putts around, but, you know, they love it. Like, you know, text them, hey, what are you guys doing? Oh, we're out at, you know, Knowles, or we're out at Dell, or, you know, they're just always out kind of doing their thing and riding. And so it's cool to see that they're still doing that, you know. So,
Are they empty nesters now? Or
Yeah,
they have
empty nesters
no
now,
kids at
yeah,
home, so they're
yeah.
just doing it
yeah.
because they enjoy it.
Yeah.
They enjoy doing it together.
Yep. So, yeah, I'm the youngest, and I've been out for a decade. So,
Okay.
yeah. So
That's cool.
yeah,
I mean, it's, you know, that's another thing that's rare is like, you know, people staying married for that long, right?
Oh, yeah.
I was just having a conversation the other night. You know, I think it was actually about Jimmy Carter, the president.
Oh, yeah.
Because his
wife
just
just passed away, yeah.
and they were married for like 70 plus years.
Wow,
Is
that's
that
crazy.
how long
Yeah.
they've been married?
Yeah.
We were just talking about how rare it is for people to be married for that long.
Yeah.
And I mean, me and my wife, I mean, we're not empty nesters yet, but
Yeah.
I mean, our youngest is 12. And
How long you guys been married?
we've been married for 15,
Nice.
16, maybe 17.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we've been together for 22 years.
Oh, wow. Dang.
Yeah, been together for 22. We were together for like 6 years before we got married.
That's awesome.
So and we have old kids. We have a 24 and a 23-year-old. So we've been parents like
Yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah.
So we're like ready to be empty nesters.
Yeah.
Now we're like, I know you're 12,
Hurry up.
youngster,
Yeah.
but like hurry up and
Yeah.
get out of here, you know? So we've been having these conversations a lot lately, just and like looking at like how couples like when their youngest leaves, like
Yeah.
some people they just drift apart
Yeah.
because all they did was raise kids together and they don't have common interests. So it's cool for
yeah.
your parents
Yeah.
to hear that they're like still like loading up the moto van and
Yeah.
going riding together. That's
Yeah,
cool.
It is
I think
pretty
it's way cool.
Yeah. Yeah. They've been married 45 years now.
Cool.
43, somewhere in there. 43 to 45.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure.
I
but
just think that's cool. You know what I mean?
It's
Like-
cool. And when you're young too, you don't realize like the effect that like them being affectionate to each other and, you know, just like the love they have
Yeah.
for each other and like how that can like resonate like in my marriage, you know, like I don't think I've ever seen my parents like fight in front of me.
Really?
You know, and it was always behind closed doors for them, you know, and every marriage, every relationship is going to have their hardships and their
For sure.
struggles, but they never let us know that, you know, and that's kind of something that me and my wife have tried to adapt in our marriage. You know, it's like if there's a struggle or there's something going on, like our kids don't know it because they don't need to. You know, they don't need the stress.
Not their
of,
problem,
Yeah,
right?
they don't need the stress of, oh, mom and dad are fighting or, you know, there's financial situations
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. Like they're kids, they don't need that burden. So there's a lot of things from my parents' marriage that I, you know, like picked up on and I really appreciate now that, you know, like I had that example of like,
Sure.
you know, parents that are willing to just like work through everything and like make it work because they didn't have a good situation. Like, you know, they got married at like 18 years old because they were pregnant, you know, but they stuck it out and they're still married to this day. So it is cool, you know, and it sucks because you see more and more divorce these days. It sucks to see people go through that. You know, I've had people close to me going through divorce and it sucks to see. And,
Yeah.
you know, you don't wish that on anyone. So yeah, a good, healthy marriage is a cool thing.
If you can do it, but it is hard, man. I can't
is
say.
hard,
I
yeah.
mean, me and so like our 24 and 23-year-old, like the 24-year-old is mine,
Yeah.
and our 23-year-old is my wife's.
Okay.
Me and my wife both had high school pregnancies, got married, and were divorced within a year.
Yeah.
And then that's when we met. So when I met her, I had just gotten divorced, and I had a 1-year-old.
Yeah.
She had just gotten divorced. She had a 6-month-old.
So
And we were like 18
Yeah.
at the time. We're like,
That's
hey, we
crazy.
got this in common. I don't know anybody else
Yeah.
my age that's
Got
been
a-
married,
got a
divorced,
kid,
and has
yeah.
a kid. So
Yeah.
then, but it caused a lot of struggles. I mean, I wish I could say like, you know, with your parents, like when we were young, raising our 2 older kids, we
Yeah.
fought a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it took its toll at times on our older kids. We stuck it out and we made it work and we're
Yeah.
still here.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's tough, and
hard.
like especially when you add in like co-parenting too. Because
Yeah.
my first daughter, she's 10, and she's not with my wife; she's with another girl.
Okay.
And so my wife came in, and like in the middle of me having a 2-year-old, and like she didn't have kids or anything like that, and so it was just kind of like, hey, like here I am, but also like here's
my
my
child.
daughter, you know,
Yeah.
and she just embraced that like 100%, and was just like,
And that's probably huge props to her.
yeah,
For being
absolutely, yeah,
open and willing.
yeah. And that comes with its own battles and
Set of
struggles,
challenges,
and,
for sure.
yeah, and so. But yeah, like she's just taking everything on the chin. Like my wife's way cooler than me, honestly. She should be on this podcast. Like,
Well,
she's
maybe
badass.
she'll be our next guest.
She's way cooler than me. But yeah, like so she kind of took that on, and took on that role of like being mom way before she was, actually
Actual mom.
And,
Yeah.
and all the judgment and scrutiny that comes with, and
Yeah.
she took it, and so yeah, it's crazy, really, like to just kind of like be able to, because I'm sure like like you're in the midst of like all this chaos, you know what I mean? Like going through the divorce and like going through, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was never married to my first baby mama, but just still like all those challenges
You got to
that
deal
came
with.
Yeah.
Like you can't just erase that person.
Yeah,
Like once you have
yeah.
a kid with that person, like
They're there forever. Yeah.
you're going to be co-parenting them
Yep.
till they're 18.
Yeah. So, and you know how this is, it's like, it's not just us raising the kids, but we're raising our kids, and then we've got her, and
Yeah.
we're all trying to
figure out
trying
their
to raise
place, yeah.
together, and we're trying to keep peace between everybody, and
Yeah.
so yeah, that's a struggle too.
It,
So
it makes a hard situation even harder.
yeah,
You know,
for sure.
I mean, it's hard enough to, try and be a husband or wife, raise kids together, and then you have to add that part into it. It just makes it even harder.
Yeah,
For
for sure.
So, but yeah, that's cool. I'm stoked that it's working out well for you
Yeah.
guys and that you guys are
Yeah, thanks.
doing all right. So, like back to motorcycles.
Yeah.
Off there on
Yeah.
little rabbit hole on kids and family. But tell me about like your moto kind of vlogging stuff you're doing. Like your Polaroid stuff, I think is very cool and
Yeah.
unique. Like
Yeah.
something that is like I've never seen it. Like, did you just come up with this idea, or like
So
how did you figure this out?
I have a buddy that does the Hot Wheel cars. So
Okay.
he'll take the Hot Wheels. His name is Busy Bee on TikTok.
Uh-huh.
And so he'll take the Hot Wheels and he'll put them on like similar like cars.
Uh-huh.
And so I was actually kind of talking to him like, yeah, man, like I want to do something, I want to like grow my social media more. And we just kind of got to spitballing ideas, and that's kind of like what we came up with. And so that same day I ordered the little Polaroid camera, and then I just went out and did it. And like, I didn't expect it to like take off, but I posted it. The first one I posted got like something crazy, like 600,000 views on like Instagram and TikTok. Just
Oh,
like
really?
totally took off. And so, yeah, I just kind of rode that wave after, so it just kind of was an idea we just kind of came up with. And like, it was kind of like I like what you're doing with like the car scene, where you're like, kind of making people's day and like making them, like I'm sure people are like way stoked when they find that on their car, And so I was just like trying to figure out, but like, there's not very many like Harley toys out there that I could go like put on people's
Yeah.
bikes or anything, So I was just like, well, I do videography and I do photography, so I might as well, so it kind of went through like a few different like phases to kind of get to where I got to it, because it was like, oh, like I buy like an instant printer and like I could like, take like actual photos like with my camera and edit them and then print it. And, so, but then I was just like, well, maybe I need to kind of like simplify it. And,
Yeah.
and that's kind of where I landed on like doing the Polaroids and stuff. And then, yeah, I think it was like the next day I went and did the first one, just like rode over to a bar next to my house, because I figured there'd be a bike there. And yeah, I made the video and it just kind of blew up.
So when you do them, I don't know how much you want to give away, but like, do you legit just like leave the Polaroid and leave?
Yep. 100%.
Like you don't hang out and wait and talk to them?
Nope,
You just like
nothing.
let them
Yeah.
find it and just
Yeah, so
kinda-
I'll just go. I'll kind of do my thing, and I'll leave my Instagram handle, which
Oh, okay. So they kind of know.
yeah,
They can come back and find you.
yeah. And I've had all but like 2 reach out to me and be like, "Hey, man, I got your photo." And some of them are really cool, because like one dude hit me up. He's like, "Hey, man, I got your photo. Like, you have no idea like how big of an impact that just made on me. Like, my girlfriend just left me.
geez.
Like, I'm struggling, and like like, I'm just like, I'm in this dark place, and like, I got that photo and it just made my whole day, you know? And so it's like, so then, and that was like the second or third one that I did.
Oh, really?
And so then it was like, okay, like
This
this
kinda
isn't
taking on a
this
different
isn't
meaning?
more than just like, this is way more than just like a little Instagram thing. Like, this is actually like a way to like build community.
Like
you know?
it's helping the world
Yeah.
in a sense.
Yeah.
You know, like one Polaroid at a time.
At a time, yeah. And you know, it might be small, and some people think it's stupid, and you know, you get all the negative stuff
Mm-hmm.
too. But you know, like I
mean,
think it's cool.
I love the idea, like, you know, that there's so much negativity and hate,
Yeah,
especially online,
yeah, oh yeah,
you know, like, and the only way to combat that is like as cliche as it sounds, is like with kindness, right?
yeah, yeah, with positivity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, there's not any one thing that any one of us can do to like make any sort of like giant impact that way. It's just little things like that.
Yeah, but I think the little impacts turn into like big impacts.
They definitely
You know
could.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
And I'm not trying to diminish them. It's
no,
just
I
like,
know you're not.
like by you just doing that, like one simple thing,
Yeah,
like it's so simple for you, but it might be, it totally changes
Yeah.
that other person, you know, the
Yeah.
person that you're leaving it for. Like, it may have a huge impact on their life.
Yeah.
You don't know what they're going through or what they're dealing with.
right. Yeah,
I mean, they could throw it on the ground and run it over and not
yeah,
care.
yeah,
Or
absolutely.
they might walk out and be like, they just needed something positive in
Yeah.
their life in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, pretty much everyone that's reached out have all just been like super positive. Like, dude, that would like one kid was like, I thought I got a ticket, you know, like because he was
Like
like
all
parked on the
scared.
sidewalk. He's like, I thought I got a ticket, but then I saw that. That was awesome, you know, like thanks so much. And then, you know, like everyone's just been like pretty hyped and just like, dude, thanks so much. Like, this is so cool. Like, you know, we need to go ride, stuff like that. So,
Yeah. I think it's cool, man. I think it's way cooler, way bigger than just like gaining followers or getting likes.
Yeah.
I think that like in the big picture, like it's something that you can look back on, honestly, and be proud of.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
make you know,
Yeah.
you made a positive impact on the community.
yeah. Yeah. I just, you know, and that was kind of like, even like the first post that I made, that was kind of like what I put in like the caption was like, you know, there's a ton of negativity in
Mm-hmm.
this scene, and I've dealt with it, you know, and you know, it's just kind of like, let's change that. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't need to be negative. It doesn't
Yeah.
need to be, you know, like that. Like, we all kind of have common ground, right? Like whether you stunt or you into like long trips, or even if you're like a club, like whatever, like there's all like, we all have a common ground, and that's motorcycles and Harleys. And it's like, why, you know, why sit here and like bash each other
Yeah.
for that, you know?
The whole,
and-
you know, like it's funny, but like the whole your bike sucks thing,
yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
like just bashing on,
yeah,
you know, your bike's not as good as mine. Mine's, you know,
yeah.
you bought a crappy part. You know, I don't know. There's so much negativity.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, to each person, their bike is like, to them, it's, you know, it's
Oh,
like,
for sure.
it's gold to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, I love my bike. You know what I mean? It might not be as cool as your bike, but I like my bike more than your bike because it's mine.
Well, and
you
you've put time into it. You've
Yeah.
put your own sweat and blood into
money
working on.
and-
Yeah,
yeah,
your
yeah.
hard-earned money has
Yeah.
gone into that. Like, you know, and I see that here. I know I have guys that come in here and they want to just. Sometimes I feel like guys come in the shop here, and they just want to be able to tell me everything they've done to their bike.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like,
Yeah.
like it doesn't really matter to like. I don't want to say it doesn't matter to me, like, because it does, but it's like they don't need to tell me
Right.
every upgrade that they've done to it,
Yeah.
but they just want to be able to say, I've done this, because they're proud
I'm
of
proud
it.
of it. Yeah.
So it's like, if you just take 5 minutes and let them just like
Yeah.
talk about their bike
Yeah.
and just be like, man, that's a beautiful bike.
Yeah.
It, you know, I really like that, you know, that you know, you did this, and I love that you picked this or whatever. And just,
Yeah. I mean, I
because
know.
it's just like,
I know I get stoked whenever anyone like compliments my
Yeah.
bike or anything, like it makes my day for sure.
for sure. Yeah. So
I think
it's
that's
cool.
kind of the same thing with like the Polaroids, you know, like it's also like me putting a Polaroid on their bike, you know, rad bike, ride safe. It's also a compliment to them, you know? And so something,
I think it's more impactful too, because I mean, I'll become a little bit numb to being like, hey, nice bike. Like as we walk by a little
Yeah,
bit,
yeah.
Like the Polaroid, like someone has taken time out of their day
yeah,
to take a picture, write a handwritten note, and let them know that like their bike's cool.
Yeah.
And
If you're watching this, put me on camera, Jordan. Which one? This one? If you're watching this, I'm gonna Polaroid your bike. I'm gonna get you. Just one bike at a time.
it's
I'm gonna
cool,
get them
man.
all.
I think it's so cool. I really do.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You know, I think this industry has a lot of like, I'm cooler than you type guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not enough dudes just spreading positivity and kindness.
I think there's a lot of people in the industry that just like want respect without really doing anything for it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you've done a handful of like, you know, cam jobs or you've done a handful of, you know, this or that. And like, you think like you're the best builder in the world and everyone should just respect you. But it's like, well, what are you doing for the community as a whole? Or, you know, what are you know, how are you contributing in any way other than like a couple bike builds or, you know, like you've built a couple cool bikes, whatever, you know, so it's just kind of like, how can you contribute more to your community and your scene, you know? And it's like, how can you support others? How can you, you know, like help out a friend or help out a shop or, you know, like a dude that got hit by a car, you know, like how can you help these people out, you know, not just expect everybody to like, you know, respect you and love everything you're doing when you're like not even showing up to like any of the events or, you know, anything else or contributing in any other way other than just like being a hermit, you know, and like posting, you know, like talking crap on everyone else on social media because your bike's faster or whatever it may be, you know? So it's just, it's just like, it's just a weird, the industry as a whole is just kind of a weird like thing. And I kind of look at it as like, because I'm in like the car industry as well with my job. And so I kind of see like two totally different dynamics of like the car scene versus like, you know, the motorcycle scene. And there are like some way sick builds and stuff that just kind of like people just kind of like disregard and just kind of like walk past.
In the motorcycle world?
Yeah. You know, but it's like you go to like a car meet and it's like they'll listen to any Honda Civic rev its motor and act like it's the coolest thing in the world, you know, and then a Lambo will show up and everybody's, you know, shitting their pants. And so it's just kind of a different dynamic. So I kind of have a weird like outlook on it, I guess, of like how I look at like the contrast between the two. And sometimes I like look at the car scene and then I look at the Harley scene. And like, to be honest, I love the Harley scene way more, but I'm like, damn, there's a lot of improvement that needs to be, you know,
do you think some of that
here.
comes from like culturally, like the Harley world is like a tough guy mantra, like, you know,
yeah, I mean,
kind of the old school
yeah,
biker was like a big burly tough guy.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to portray, like, if you're going to own a Harley, you got to act like a big tough guy.
I mean, maybe you might be onto something, but like, I mean, probably, right? But it shouldn't be like that.
It shouldn't.
You know what I mean?
I just
Like,
wonder, I'm just trying to think, like, why is it?
Yeah,
Why
I don't
is
know.
it that
Yeah,
way?
I don't know. Like I wish I had the answer for that, but I don't. Like,
Yeah.
And it's weird because like I even had that mentality like when I first got a bike, like, oh, I'm badass, you know, like I've got this bike, you know, but I'm 21 years old and you know what I mean?
Right.
Invincible, you know?
Yeah.
So, but you know, obviously as you get older and have more like life experience, it's like, it's not about being a tough guy. It's not about that. It's like about like taking yourself on two wheels and like going and like enjoying like other people's company and like hearing stories from people, you know, and like other people's experiences that they've had on motorcycles and stuff. Like that's the coolest part is like listening to other people and what they have to say, not just like, oh, I'm the fastest and the toughest. And, you know,
That's what I've always said is like a motorcycle isn't like a mode of transportation to get you from point A to point B.
Yeah.
It's a mode of transportation to take you through life.
Yeah.
You know, and take you to places that you wouldn't normally go and meet people that you wouldn't normally meet, have experiences that you wouldn't otherwise have.
Yeah.
And that's how I view the motorcycle. That's what it's done for me.
Yeah.
And I can say that at this point, I don't even put on a ton of miles on motorcycles anymore.
Yeah.
I put on a ton of miles in my truck with motorcycles in my trailer, but still I'm going to motorcycle events.
Yeah.
I'm seeing parts of the country that I otherwise wouldn't go to.
Yeah.
doing things that I wouldn't do.
I'm not breaking world records by any means as far as putting on miles, you know, like I'm not
No, but you're
to,
going out to rallies and shows.
Yeah.
I mean, and whether they're within a 50-mile radius of your home,
yeah.
or if you're riding East Coast to West Coast, you're still doing things that you wouldn't be doing if you didn't have that motorcycle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, maybe that's just the way I look at it is, you know, motorcycle just takes you through life and gives you experiences that you otherwise wouldn't have.
I agree. Yeah.
And that's the cool thing about it.
It is cool. Yeah.
And it takes you to places to meet people that are kind of cut from the same cloth as you.
Yeah.
You know, they love motorcycles.
Yeah.
Whether it's dirt,
Yeah.
road, whatever, racing, cruising, traveling, stunting, whatever.
And that's kind of what I was talking about. Like we all have like this common ground. So it's like, why are we sitting here and like fighting each other on the internet? You know, like it's just some of the comments that I get, you know,
Yeah.
oh, this is gay. You're a hipster. Like if you put a picture on my bike, I'd whoop your ass, you know, and shit like that. And
What's
it's
the point?
Yeah.
Like, what are you proving there?
Yeah. It's just like, okay, man, like awesome. You
Yeah.
know, and it's like, I bet you wouldn't, you know, like I bet if you came out and you saw a photo on your bike, you'd probably be pretty pumped like everybody else, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know, and, you know, oh, you get like, oh, you never touch another man's bike and, you know, this and that. And it's like, well, I think it kind of comes to like intention, right? Like
Right.
I'm not going to like sitting on their bike and like taking pictures of myself on their bike. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I'm doing something that I think is, you know, kind. And I think if someone came out with a bad attitude, I think I could probably talk them down, you know, like, like, hey man, you know, I didn't mean disrespect. This is just, you know, this is what I'm doing. You know, they might think it's cool. And if not, then whatever, you know?
Yeah. I mean, if you came out and you were honestly pissed off about someone leaving a Polaroid of your bike stuck to your seat or gas tank
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yeah.
you probably got bigger problems in life
Yeah.
than someone sticking a Polaroid on your bike.
Yeah,
You know
for
what I
sure.
mean? Like
Yeah.
you need to look inside yourself and
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I think.
I agree. Yeah.
So I've also noticed lately, like when you're doing that, like you're leaving those freak mounts on them.
Yeah.
I've never seen one in person. I'm just curious.
Oh, I should have brought one. So yeah, freak mount's actually pretty dope. They're just magnetic phone mounts. I like them because I'm obviously like always taking pictures of or videos like while I'm riding, and so it's nice because I don't have to like try to like finagle to get my phone off. I just hurry and like pop it up, record, and then I can just put it back down with a magnet and not necessarily have to like worry about.
You
know,
never
like-
worry about it?
No, never. But I've actually been working with Freak Mount, and so that's where that video was to kind of help promote them and do that. So that's what that last video
Are they
was.
a fairly new brand?
Yeah, they're a fairly new brand. I think they just hit like 10K on like Instagram.
Okay.
So they're fairly new, but super cool like to work with. They've been super fun. And
Is it a new product? Like, is it a company? I should have looked into them a little more,
Yeah.
but I guess I'll just ask you because I'm curious. Are they a new company or is it like a new product for an older company?
I think it's a new company.
Okay.
Yeah, new product, new company. So there's
And it's like one of their only products right now?
I think it's their only product. And
Okay.
they just have different colors. It's a super simple design. It just opens up, takes your phone, and it's just a like super heavy duty magnet. So, I mean, I haven't had any issues with it, but I mean, it's been cool for me, you know.
Right on.
So it's just nice because I hate like, you know, either trying to pull my phone out of, you know, my little compartments or my pocket or whatever. It's just nice. It's just on my tank. I can hit record
Right there.
slap it up, you know, and then just slap it back down if I got to stop or whatever. So they're pretty sweet.
You were in Four Corners
Yep.
this year
Yep.
and you rode out there
Yep.
and you took a video of me while I was getting loaded in the ambulance.
Yeah,
that was kind of cool. No, there were some other people that like I heard afterwards were kind of upset with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
They were like
sorry.
thinking that you were like shoving a camera in my face in a like vulnerable moment.
I mean,
Like
kinda, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, but
I mean you were.
I think,
I wouldn't have done it if I didn't want to though. Like I
Yeah.
would have been like,
get out of my
no,
face.
yeah, like I don't need to do that. But I mean,
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of funny.
I guess I didn't put a ton of thought into it when I did it. I was just like, hey, here's an opportunity. Like, you know, like he might want to use this for, you know, his own, you know, kind of social media or whatever. And so I just kind of gave you the mic and I was just like, what happened, you know? But I think there was like a moment where you kind of went from like so focused on the pain to just kind of like, now you're doing an interview that it kind of almost almost gave you a minute of like,
kind of relaxed my mind a little bit, taking the focus off of my leg.
Focus off that. Yeah. So it's funny that people would get mad about that, especially like, I don't know, like if you weren't upset about it, like why would anyone else be upset about it, you know? But
yeah, I'm the only one that I guess gets to be upset about it, right? Yeah. And I wasn't. Yeah. Like I totally wasn't. I didn't that didn't even cross my mind until I heard there were some other people being like, man, it was like an attention grab, like in a vulnerable moment, like he was hurt and they were just trying to use that as an opportunity to get views type stuff, you know?
If that's how they took it, I'm sorry.
Like I said, I didn't feel that way. I just thought it was kind of funny. And like I said, if I wouldn't have wanted to talk to you, then I wouldn't have.
I guess for people that don't know, right? Like after you crashed, I was the first person to you.
Yeah.
You know, and
you were on the infield.
Yeah, I was
like taking photos of the race, and
I filmed your first crash at the other corner, right in the wall. You know, and then bound to the crowd. I got a super sick clip, and then the next corner, and you crashed, and no one really. It was almost like no one really paid attention to what happened. Like almost like no one saw it. And
because the wreck wasn't that bad.
Yeah. And
it was like a tip over. So I think maybe everybody was just waiting for me to stand up and bow to the crowd and get back on the bike.
And so like I ran over there and I was like the first one to you and just kind of like, not that really means anything, but I was kind of like, and then like I followed you to the ambulance, like trying to make sure you're all right. You know, I'm talking to your wife, like making sure she's okay. Like, you know, and just like,
it's not like you ran from the crowd over to like take a picture of me.
Yeah, I didn't just like, you know, like I had been taking pictures and videos of you all night. You know what I mean? So it wasn't just like a one-off, like, oh, I'm going to go down and like make him talk to my camera because I'm a dickhead. You know? So, but again, like it goes back to like just kind of like the negative side of like this scene, you know, right? Like people will find anything to like be mad about.
Sure.
You know, and so I obviously don't know who was upset about it, but
I'll leave him anonymous.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll leave him anonymous, so it's all good.
I know who
I don't need to.
Jordan.
Jordan's very protective over me.
Yeah, I know.
It's like a mother.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was funny. It was fun. I mean, made light of a kind of a bad situation.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I guess to like defend myself, I would never try to like put someone in a situation where I'm like trying to like get clout off of them. You know what I mean?
And I don't get that from you. I don't feel that from you. Like I feel like you're a fairly genuine guy. Like you're not trying to like use anybody or take advantage.
I mean, like, and I posted the interview just because I thought it was pretty funny that you're literally like getting loaded in an ambulance and like taking an interview. And I think for me, like it showed a lot of your personality. Right? That like you're like a pretty easygoing guy, and like maybe a lot of people don't even know that about you. You know? Like they don't know like how easy you are to talk to and just like how cool and relaxed and chill you are, you know? So to me, it was like almost like, hey, here's a side of Tony that like maybe people haven't seen, you know? Like,
and if there was ever going to be a time someone's pissed off or angry or screaming, that would be it.
Yeah. And so,
I feel like I tried to stay pretty calm in that moment.
And so I just thought it was, you know, just kind of funny. And I on my end, like I didn't get any like backlash or anyone say anything like that. But I also like, it didn't grow my following. It didn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not like it's not like paparazzi stuff. Like you were out there taking photos of Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I didn't make any money off of it. Like, you know, so yeah, it's just kind of funny, just stuff like that. Like it's like no harm, no foul, but people still want to like, cry about it. So hit me up. At Levi X Welch, we can talk about it if you're mad.
Have a conversation, right? Like real men.
Yep.
No, I don't think anybody was that upset. It's no big deal to me.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, I guess I wanted to let you know that I didn't take any offense to it.
Yeah.
Or was upset about it.
This is the first I've heard of any sort of like negativity from that. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you didn't feel like I was
No,
feeling anything like that either.
I don't
because
think I'd be on your podcast if you felt that way.
Probably not.
So
I guess that's a good
so
point.
yeah, I never really took
Yeah.
any sort of anything like that from
No,
it.
I mean, one of the reasons I think you're here is that I think both me and Jordan like admire a lot of what you're doing out there.
Well, I appreciate that.
Growing your personal stuff. Obviously, I mean, you do a lot of this for your day job. It's a little bit of kind of what you do.
Yeah.
Is, photos and
Video,
videography and stuff.
Yeah.
But just watching you kind of grow your personal stuff, I'm not that dude. Like, I'm a motorcycle mechanic by trade.
Yeah.
I am like so like untech savvy. Like
Yeah.
I didn't have social media before we opened the shop. I only like felt like I had to for the shop. And in the early days, like I was
Yeah.
terrible at it when I was trying to do it myself.
Yeah.
That's why I had to find somebody like Jordan to help me with a lot of it. But between the two of us, we're, trying to create some stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm terrible. The thing is I'm supposed to be kind of the face
Yeah.
and the character of it, and I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to learn. And I
Well-
just look at guys like you that I just think are cool.
Yeah.
And maybe I can learn something from you.
Well, I wouldn't discount yourself like that. Like you're pretty good at it. I think it's just like, I mean, I've been doing videography and content creation for like 10 years now, like, and I just barely this year kind of figured out what I'm doing, and kind of like, I've always kind of had like an okay following. But just in this like last year, I've gained like 60,000 followers,
Wow.
and so it took me a while to like really like find what I was doing, but also I had to really like commit to it. Like it wasn't just like I posted one video and just like it blew up and I blew up with it. It was like I like made a commitment. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna start. Like I'm already out riding my motorcycle. I'm already taking pictures and videos of it. I might as well just start posting more consistently and like try to like actually make a push for this. And so it's like I had, like I made a few I made dozens of videos before I ever even posted like the Polaroid thing, and I had one that did pop off after, like a month or two of like, like really trying to like grind out. And then I had one pop off and it was like 30 million views, but it wasn't until like I made the commitment, like, all right, I'm really going to try to do this, that it actually like started to gain traction. And then I finally had that one pop off. Cause had I never like made that commitment to like post consistently, it never would have, like, probably never would have made that video, never would have got 29 million views or whatever it's at. I wouldn't have gained all the traction I did, and then it's just like, and then you just kind of build on top of that, So I think it's hard too, like for you, because it's, like there's so many aspects of owning a company, and you don't just own a company where you have people that just work for you. Like you have to be doing the work too, like you have your hands in everything and you wear so many hats that like, I'm sure like social media is like at the very bottom of your list, and so.
It is. And it pisses him off.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I don't think you should like discredit yourself and be like, oh, I'm not good at it. It's just like, it's like making that commitment to just being like, all right, like here's what we're doing, and like we're just gonna go for it, and it sounds like you guys are doing that, and it's just
I think it's moving in the right direction. Yeah. I think we're still in that phase of like we're looking for
where you fit in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what works for us.
Yeah, there's so much, like content out there that it really is kind of hard to like stand out sometimes, and you kind of got to find something that kind of separates you from someone else, and it's like, you got dudes like Cruzy that are doing YouTube, and like he does a really good job at like doing the builds and stuff, and it's like you guys could probably do that too, but then does it just look like you're just kind of ripping him off, you know? And I'm sure you guys have done build videos and stuff before, and so it's just kind of like finding, like whatever it is that you're, but it's like there's so much content out there being made that it's like where do we fit in and where do we stand out? And it's just like, so.
And it's, I think from what I'm finding is how do you stand out? But that thing also has to be genuine.
Yeah.
Like it has to, you can't fake it.
And it has to be something that you can do consistently.
Yeah.
Right. Like
consistency, I think, is probably my biggest problem.
Yeah.
Because like you said, I'm wearing so many hats
Yeah.
that every day I'm coming in, I've got, 10 different things I got to deal with.
Yeah.
And that's
Before
the
you can
last
even
thing I
take a
think about.
piss.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, no, I mean, I get that from your side for sure. So it's just like trying to find how can I fit in? How can I stand out? How can I be consistent? How can I, and it's like, it's a lot of work. Like, I mean, I do it for a personal thing and I don't even do it for a business and it's hard, it's like, how do I post, 3-4 times a week, especially now, like it's getting cold, I'm like,
What are you going to do
I'm
all
like,
winter?
what am I going to do? How am I going to keep this up? And like, I have a goal of like hitting 100,000 followers by the end of the year. And it's like, I've got 2 months to do that. I'm 15,000 away. I've got 2 months to do that. And it snowed yesterday, and it's just like, so it's just kind of like, damn, so I'm like trying to figure out like what I can do over the winter to try to like, without spending all of my wife's money and like going crazy on like a bike build or something, like how do I, you know what I mean? Like do something that's cool. And so, yeah. And I just don't think people like understand like how much work actually goes into it,
For sure.
And then like you said, like I do it full time for a job, like I do videography and photography is my day job at 80/80. And it's like, I have to be creative there. And then I have to go home and be creative on my personal thing. And then I do side work for other companies and I got to be creative for them, and it's like I've been doing work with a motorcycle brand. I can't really talk about it, but I've been doing work with a motorcycle brand. It's like, I got to be creative for them. And, and so it's just kind of all over the place, and so it's hard to like stay creative and like be in a creative mindset all the time, and like not be in like a creative rut. So there's a lot that goes into it that people like don't really see. So I definitely like feel you when it comes to like making it a priority and like where it's at like on the list. So
Yeah, I think this coming year for 24, I'm trying to commit to consistency.
yeah,
Because for the last couple of years, me and Jordan have gone through a lot of ideas, and it's like we start down that path of like whatever the plan is, and then here at the shop, riding season hits, and that plan just goes out the window because it gets crazy in here. And right now, we're just trying to figure out, okay, we're going to build our plan for a year, and we got to figure out how to deal with all those like roadblocks and hurdles that have derailed us in the past, like so that we can stay consistent, and it is hard for me. Like I have these battles with Jordan all the time, like committing to social media, whatever it is, videos and stuff, because I could just work all day, every day on motorcycles.
Yeah.
Like, and that's a paying job. Like walk away from that paying job to come up here and make a video that, what am I getting for it right now?
Yeah. I mean, it's
like, why am I going to walk away from $500 today
for
to
something
come up
that
here and make a video?
Might not have any sort of return of investment. Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel that way sometimes with like my own content. It's like, am I putting in all this work and this effort for like no return? You know what I mean? Like I've gotten a few cool things out of it, like it's got its perks, mostly just like being able to like, do the Polaroids is kind of like been the most rewarding part. Like, like I'm not getting free bikes. I'm not getting, free parts and stuff. Like, I mean, I've gotten a few like hookups here and there on stuff, but that's about it. Like it's not paying my bills, and so it's like, I'm out, trying to create content for what, other than just like trying to like make someone happy for like 10 minutes,
Sure.
So I totally see like where you're coming from with all of this. Cause it's like,
the same.
Sometimes it's really hard to see like, the light at the end of the tunnel. Like what is all this going to do for me, like in the long run? And same thing, like, am I, focused on like my personal content versus like, could I be doing like more side work, or like more focused at my job, and like stuff that's actually going to feed me and my kids, or, just like doing a Instagram reel or a TikTok that, like so far hasn't paid me, so.
Yeah. And I think we all get so wrapped up with views and followers sometimes. And at the end of the day, you know, sometimes that stuff does pay off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe it will make money down the road. I mean, and I hate the word money.
Yeah.
I really do. Like, I just feel like the word, like, just when you talk about money, like, it makes you feel like greedy or slimy, you know? But it's, at the end of the day, like, we both have families and kids to raise and to take care of them.
Yeah.
We need money.
Yeah. And I got 2 girls, and they're not cheap.
No, girls are not. I think girls are more expensive than boys.
Yeah.
You know, I got 1 son and 3 girls.
Yeah.
Wait till your girls want to start dancing.
I mean, they want to do everything. They're in dance. They want to do gymnastics. They want to race dirt bikes. They want to play soccer. You know,
Oh, yeah, they got all the expensive ones.
Everything, you know. So it's like, and I want them to experience all that.
For sure.
And I want to provide that for them, you know. So, but yeah, so it's tough sometimes to like, you know, like, what am I spending all this time and effort for, you know? And I think kind of to like backpedal a little bit, that maybe it's just like, you know, like to build a community, or, you know, just kind of like be part of something bigger than me, you know what I mean? Like, and so, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard when you start like talking about it in this light, you know, because it's like, it's something that can be so cool and so positive and like so much fun, and like you get a lot of enjoyment out of it. But then it's something that's like, man, like, this is exhausting. This is hard, you know?
And what am I getting out of it?
Yeah.
You know?
I'm not trying to sound like a whiny bitch, but you know what I mean? It's just like, you know, like it's hard. And there's a lot of times where it's like, I'm just in creative ruts and I don't know how to get out, and I don't know what to do. And, you know, it's like, I've got to be like creative 24/7, because I'm putting out so much content at work and so much content, you know, and so much content. So it's tough.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, like, with your kids, if you've got them into riding at all.
Yeah. So,
I mean, and do they like it? Have they picked up on it at all? Do they enjoy it? Or
yeah, they like it. It's like Nelly, my 4-year-old, she's got like a little Stasic. She loves to like rip that thing, but it's something they enjoy to do, but it's not anything that I've like pushed them like super hard on yet, you know? And my wife was in nursing school when Nelly was born. And so we were just like one income, getting her through school, you know, stuff like that. So we kind of put a lot of like the hobbies and activities and stuff kind of on the side to like make the big push for her to like get through school and, you know, get her career kind of going. So like we sold her dirt bike. And so I think this spring, like we'll opt and get like some more dirt bikes and kind of get the kids kind of out doing a little bit more.
A little bit more of it.
Yeah. So now that my wife's schedule is kind of like a little bit more consistent, now that she's like kind of set up in her career, then, you know, it'd be a little bit easier to kind of like make some time. Because there was a time where like when she started, it was like she would work every other weekend, you know, and so then it was kind of hard to like always be making time to like go ride dirt bikes or do whatever, you know, when you only have 2 weekends, you know, a month to hang out with each other and to hang out with the kids and stuff. So
I was just curious, like my youngest likes to ride.
Yeah.
Like she'll ride when we go out, if we go out, but she's not like begging me to go out.
Yeah.
You know?
That's kind of how my kids are. Like if it's there and it presents itself, they're like, they love it and they love to be out in the dirt, but it's not something they're like, can we go riding this weekend? You know, it's like,
I just feel like that's how I was when I was young.
Yeah.
Like I was either begging to go ride, or I was I was fortunate enough to like live somewhere that we could ride behind our house.
Yeah.
So we would come home from school and jump on the bikes and go ride in the woods.
Yeah, we had like a field, so we would just like always be riding like BMX bikes and just building dirt jumps and stuff and just doing that. But for the most part, we were like, my parents just took us riding every weekend. Like that was kind of all we did.
Just what
like,
you did.
We didn't really have like a ton of money, you know? And so, I mean, and dirt bikes are expensive. So like, it's kind of hard to like explain. We didn't have a lot, but we had dirt bikes, you know? So, but like, that's just kind of all we did. Like that was like, we didn't go on like expensive vacations very often or really ever, you know, it was just like, it was dirt bikes.
Did you guys travel out of state a lot, or was everything in state?
Mostly in state. I mean, we'd go like, I guess, Idaho, you know, stuff like that. Like nothing far. Like
but still road tripping as a kid. That's a long ways.
Yeah. I like when I was like a teenager, I went with my parents to Montana. We rode there, and they had like some family friends up there that we just went up there and rode with them, and that's some like cool like single track like switchback stuff that we got to ride. So I mean, we were kind of all over, but mostly just like in the state and just like kind of your local. Like we used to go to 5 Mile Pass, like that was our
the
second
spot.
home. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they ended up mining out there like 20 years ago, and it just kind of went downhill from there. So
You can still ride out there though,
yeah,
right?
you can still ride, but it's way congested now too. Like there's
Is it?
so, and like
I've never been out there, but I hear about it a lot.
but like side by sides have kind of like ruined everything. Like
Yeah.
all the trails and stuff like just aren't as fun, and they're just all like everything's so whooped out. Like no matter where you go, like Knowles, Cherry Creek, like everywhere is just kind of like overthrown by razors and side by sides. And like those are cool, those are fun. Like nothing against them, but it's just like there used to be like some way fun trails out of like Jericho, like the fence line, and now they're just like these huge whooped out,
Yeah.
you know, like side by side trails.
Yeah.
So it's just yeah.
We rode that a lot. We rode Jericho growing up a lot.
Yeah.
We didn't go out there for the trails. We would always just go out there for the dunes.
Yeah.
But I would always jump on my, because my family mostly rode like ATVs.
Oh, okay.
But I always wanted a motocross bike,
Yeah.
or. And
Yeah.
so I would always just hit the trails and just
Yeah, we were
blast 'em.
we were always just on the other side at Jericho and
Really?
Cherry Creek. We were never really in the
In the
dunes.
dune side, yeah.
We'd sneak over sometimes and just like rip around a bowl or two, but
yeah.
my dad wasn't very fond on like he's just like
Dune
we're just
riding.
gonna blow our bikes up. What are we doing over here? We're just,
Right.
like
Yeah.
so like
No, that's cool. Well, cool. It's about an hour.
cool. Already, huh?
Good conversation. Unless
Yeah.
you got anything else, man.
No, unless you got anything. I guess the only thing I gotta say is use discount code Levi at tuckerspeed.com, get
There you go.
10% off.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Yeah.
you guys having me on though. This was fun.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming out. I appreciate it. It's good conversation. I like talking to dudes that, we have some common ground,
Yeah.
just love motorcycles,
Yeah.
trying to get through life, raising a couple of kids and
Yeah.
enjoying it. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks
Yeah.
for having me, and hopefully we can do some more in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
Heck yeah.
Cool.
Right on.